Let's talk soil. The type of soil you use can absolutely make or break how your garden produces. Anyone who's gotten the wrong kind of soil knows just how heartbreaking it can be. So let's get this part right. We've talked about growing in raised beds, in-ground beds, containers, and vertical gardening. But let's put vertical gardening aside because you can basically grow vertical gardening in one of the first three. So let's start with in-ground beds. For in-ground beds, you're working with soil that's already there. Hopefully you've already gotten a soil test and you know what you're working with. Regardless of whether or not you have nutrient-dense soil, always add a layer of compost. ABC, always be adding compost. ABAC, it still works. Compost is a gardener's best friend. If you're consistently adding compost twice a year, once in the early spring, once in the late fall, you're gonna be able to grow anything. Now with raised beds, you're not working with any existing soils, so you've got to add your own. Your raised bed should consist of 3 different components: compost, either vermiculite or perlite, and either peat moss or coir. I can never say that right, I'm sorry. It's only 4 letters and it gets stuck in my mouth every single time. When I first started gardening, I was under the impression that I should be using 1/3 of each of those 3 components, but after gardening for a few years, I've amended that a little bit. I personally recommend 50% compost, 25% vermiculite, and 25% peat moss, or that word that I can't pronounce. If you have really tall raised beds, to cut the cost of filling the entire bed, it's sometimes common practice to add some fillers in there, like cardboard, logs, sticks, stuff like that. And finally, with containers, I still use those 3 components to fill up my containers, but I adjusted a little bit and I still add 50% compost, and it's more like 35% vermiculite and 15% peat moss. This is to help maximize your drainage in those containers. These combinations have worked really well for me up until now, but I totally understand that there are different ways to combine your soil. So if you use a different combination in your garden beds, please tell me in the comments, because I'm always interested in learning how other gardeners are successful.